Hi everyone, thanks for watching another InfoSec Hub video, and today we're going to talk about IAM, and that's standing for Identity and Access Management, also known as IGA, Identity, Governance and Access. Um, it basically boils down to role-based access. So what kind of role do you have within an organization? What list of applications you need to use in order to do your job? And what kind of access rights do you have within that application? And with access rights, I mean, are you able to read files, edit files, delete files? Um, what are you able to do with them? What kind of information are you allowed to see in the first place? Because there's always going to be things off limit. As a regular employee, you will not have access to files of the HR department, confidential information of HR, confidential information of maybe a security officer, what he's able to see within to in order for him to make sure that he can do his job. Because information is knowledge, information is power, and based on information you can make a decision. You need information in order to do your job. We all know that within a company there is confidential information and that needs to be shielded from people that shouldn't have access and need to be accessible from people that need that information in order to do their jobs or make certain decisions. So here, here on top we have the RAKI matrix, standing for responsibility, accountability, consulted or informed. This has to do with access functions. So HR has different, different access functions than maybe a system or data owner. So we see here personas, IDs, credentials, business roles, IT roles, and entitlements. And entitlements standing for system-specific privileges. So let's start here all the way on the left. So you could be an employee within the company. You could be a consumer or a customer of a company. You could be a third party or a sales agent or a contractor. And he or she needs, let's say, for instance, in this particular case, a consumer, he needs certain information from the company that he is either buying a product or service from. So this customer needs access to a certain system, and within that system, a customer should have access rights, and they probably need different access rights than a third party. So let's say, for instance, a third party is performing vulnerability scans or pen testing. They also need more in-depth information when it comes to the system that a normal customer shouldn't have access to. Okay, so that's certain personas, certain people that are stakeholders and have different information needs. Then we have examples here. So we could, when we talk about humans, so you could have an employee ID or a contractor ID. You could be a vendor who has his own ID, customer ID, and an ID is always unique. So an ID could be based on your name. It could be username, could be email address, because email addresses are also unique. You need to have a unique identifier. That's human. So that's a name, for instance. You can also have non-human IDs, like a system service ID or an admin ID. Maybe you don't have a name attached to an admin, but maybe admin 001 or admin 002. For auditing and logging, that wouldn't be a preferred option, but it could be if you have a small company maybe, and you need admin 1 to log into system A and admin 2 to log into system B, for instance, because different systems, different roles, different access rights. Again, it should be unique and it should be relatable back to a person. That would be the preferred way of going about. So you identify yourself as a certain user, and another identifier could be a password, but then you're going to the credentials. So this identity, this person has an identity, and this identity has credentials to log in, to authenticate himself basically. And the most common form is a username and a password. And nowadays, when you go to critical business applications, you could add another layer of authentication, two-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication, MFA. Biometrics could also work. Maybe you have a fingerprint that you use to open a door or an iris scan. These are kind of things to identify the person that you bring. It's either you bring something with you or something that you remember. What you remember is a password. Something that you bring with you could be another code from an authenticator app, or maybe biometrical data like fingerprints or iris scans. So then you basically have the credentials, and now you're authenticating yourself. So after authenticating yourself, you will have a role. So maybe you work in finance, maybe you work in sales, maybe you are an engineer. Based on this role, so role-based access, based on this role, you have an IT role. And the IT role is basically set up in the system that gives that grants you access. And within this IT role, it is defined what kind of privileges you have to what kind of systems. So you could be user role 1, and you could be a user within an app, for instance. There is a database connected to it, to this IT role, and that says exactly within what system, what kind of access roles do you have. The Active Directory is basically the system that grants you these access rights. There's a database attached to it, and when you are user A and you, for instance, work within finance, you need access to your office, you need access to maybe CRM software, Salesforce, where all your cases and files are located. Also within this system, you can probably not go to the IT service desk or to the security service desk. You will maintain in this system only the data sources that you need to do your work. So you can be a user, you can be an administrator, or you can have a service account. User speaks for itself. Administrator, they always have elevated privileges. Administrators do more of IT. Maybe they're an application manager, maybe they're a system manager, who knows? But they need additional access rights over the user. And also an administrator account is most preferably linked to a person for logging and audit purposes later on. You want to be able to see and go back in time to see what this person has done to the system, what kind of files have been changed, deleted, added. You want to be able to see this, and not just for fun. In case of an emergency, or in case of maybe a hack or a data leak or whatever happened that would trigger an investigation, you want to be able to see what accounts were doing at what time, what IP address, what location they came from, what kind of client connected to this account. Basically, was it a work laptop, was it a private laptop? Everything should be logged, just to go back in time and see what happened. We talked about AD. Nowadays, it's called Entra ID. This is the Active Directory service from Windows, from Microsoft. But of course, you can also, just as an IDP, identity provider, go for maybe Okta, or, there are various identity providers out there. So identity provider, you are a finance manager, that's your identity. This is your name, this is your login, this is your role. And within this business role, you have a certain IT role. So these are all the access rights within the various applications. Maybe you have a personal access management there on top of that as well. And one thing to conclude this video with if you have skim provisioning, I think it's a SCIM skim. That also means that when you offboard a person that has access to, let's say, 5 systems, you only need to remove the access rights on one particular point in one system. And with this offboarding, this particular person will lose access to all the 5 applications. You only need to do it once, and you don't need to go through every individual application and disable the account, delete the account, whatever preferred option is there. I would disable the account so the historic logging is still there under this name. But you don't want to do that in an organization that holds maybe 20, 30, 40, 50 applications. You never know. You want to be able that you have one single point of truth where all the business roles, all the IT rules, and all the entitlements are there, and that access is managed from one thing. So when you pull the switch from this location, all the access to all the applications disappear. So when somebody is offboarded, maybe they were fired because something happened, you want to be able to respond very quickly within a couple of minutes, switching off all the access rights from one particular location, closing the risks and the gaps, and disabling the account. So whatever device he's going to use at whatever location, there's no longer any access rights to business critical information, so to speak. So this is very general, very broad what identity and access management is all about. Not claiming to know it all, but this is very general information about identity and access management and identity governance and access. Very critical to have this in order to remain a safe working environment, that people have access to the information that they should need to carry out their job and nothing more. So there are no, there is not a risk of people, downloading information or seeing information that they're not allowed to see, and preventing data loss in general. Thanks for watching this video. Hopefully we do a little bit more videos in the upcoming future. It's fall now, and that's the best time of the year to make information security related videos. So thanks for watching, and we hope to see you in the next video.